All right, guys, welcome to another episode. Today we have Mark Milne with us. So tell us about who you are and what you've created.
Very good, Esther. Yes, my name's Mark Milne, and yeah, I'm from Scotland. I live in a very small town in the northeast of Scotland called Arbroath. Not actually too far away from Andy Murray's hometown of Dunblane. We're about
Nice.
an hour's drive. And tennis is a hobby of mine. I first started playing tennis in 1972. I was on a family holiday down to the south of England, watched Wimbledon on the television, and from then got hooked basically. So I've been playing for almost 50 years as a hobby. I was fortunate that I was a reasonable player. I had a fairly natural ability, not just in tennis. I also played squash, I played badminton, table tennis, and so on. But it's just a hobby for me. I've earned my living being a mechanical design engineer. When I left
Something I
school,
could never do.
I was lucky. I was quite good at maths. I liked figures and so on, and did well at school. And so I went on to university, did a 4-year degree in mechanical engineering, and now have spent about 30 years working in the oil and gas industry in
Great.
Scotland. A mechanical design engineer. So to go to the tennis, yeah, I played tennis all my life. I've had a big passion for tennis. And what I've created is it's an alternative, shorter scoring format. There's been a lot of discussions over the years that tennis matches are lasting a bit too long. They're becoming very, very physical. It's wearing out the players and so on. So about 4 years ago, I came up with a format that suited me because I was used to going in and booking a 1 hour court slot. Now, if you play traditional scoring in an hour, you quite often struggle to play a best of 3 sets using traditional scoring in an hour. So I came up with a format where I'd remembered when I was a junior and went to basic county training and so on, that coaches had used the technique of, instead of starting games at love all, you start every game at 30 all. Hence, my format 30-30 was born basically. It's very simple. All you do is you start every game at 30 all. And yeah, I found that I was able to complete a best of 3 sets match, even if it went to the 3 sets in the 1 hour. And crucially, it felt like you were still playing tennis. The results were the same. You still played a set to 6 games, you still played a tie break,
Right.
6 games all, and so on. So yeah, 30-30 was born, and it's grown from there basically.
Because the thing is, you're right in the concern that, like, sometimes we want to know when our match is going to start and finish, and we want to be able to fit it into an hour because of whatever else is going on in our life. And if you're doing 2 out of 3 sets in the regular format, you never know. It could be 1 hour or it could be 5 hours, and it's hard to plan the rest of your life. So, um, what motivated you to do this, and who is it targeted to?
Yeah, okay. It was 3 or 4 years ago when I came up with it. I was just playing with my partner. That we played twice a week, and it was really working really well. And I began to think I've really got something here that I think is a bit different. At the time, I hadn't done a lot of background. There are obviously other sort of formats where you can play to 4 games, and you could play the no ad. It's more commonly known as Fast Four. Tennis Australia had created that. There also is the tie break tens format where you play a match tie break to 10 points. That's your match. I've also come aware of the 8 game pro set that seems to be used quite a lot in America, in Canada, and so on. You could play a set to 8 games within an hour. But no, I thought I had something. I liked the branding of it as well. The 30-30 is a take on cricket. Now, cricket's quite a popular sport around the world, and they have a
Sure.
format. Yeah, they have this
Well,
format called 2020, which has revolutionised their tennis, their cricket. Instead of a match lasting days, a test match will typically last 5 days. They about 15 or so
five
years ago,
days.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, that's so totally different because that requires a lot of concentration and commitment.
Absolutely, and the traditionalists love it. They won't change. But 2020 has revolutionised it. You now play a cricket match in 3 to 4 hours, and it's taken over basically. It's a far shorter, faster paced format, more exciting. It's a different game. A lot of the traditionalists do not like it, but it is making lots and lots of money for many players. Big crowds and so on. So when I thought of 30-30, I thought, oh, well, let's see where it can go. I want people to start using it. So the first person I contacted was Judy Murray, Andy Murray's mother, because obviously if I could get her on board, it would be excellent. Sort of
anybody will.
Absolutely. So at that time, I contacted her by email. We had a few chats about it and so on. She said, yes, she'd used the format in practice and so on. And yeah, the more I've done this, the more common that I've found people have been using, but it's not been formalised. So spoke to her, asked her for some help, and she said, well, what I think you should do is go to the ITF. They will be interested.
High hopes for it.
So yeah, via their website, I contacted the ITF, eventually got put in touch with the head of rules. They have a committee and they have the head of rules.
Right.
Asked him to look at it. It was all very early these days. There was no trialing. It was only me and my partner that had been using it. He spoke to a couple of his friends on the committee and he said, yeah, we would quite like this. Would you apply formally? So on the website, there is an application form that you could fill in to amend the rules of tennis. So I got that filled in, sent away, and then the next thing I heard was, yeah, we're going to put this on the agenda of our next meeting. They meet twice a year. So in Paris...
Timing is key if they meet twice a year.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. But there was no rush with this. It was early days with it basically, and I just wanted to see where it was going to go. So yeah, they had a meeting in Paris in 2017 during the French Open. They discussed it, and I eventually got a letter back about 2 weeks later to say they weren't going to take it any further forward because they already have alternative rules for shortening matches. So I did a wee bit more investigation, and that's when I came across the sets to 4 games, the no ads, no lets, and so on. So I had a bit of a discussion with them saying, look, that isn't quite tennis, you know, winning a set 4 games to 1 or a match 4-1, 4-3, not playing ads. It's not really traditional tennis as a lot of people know it. So I tried to say to them, look, the 30-30 format still resembles and respects the main traditions of sets to 6 games. The ad points are played, the tie breaks are played at 6 games all, but they wouldn't have anything of it. So I said, okay, that's fair enough. I'll now go away and create a website, formalise it and so on, start contacting people all over the world, just basically through social media, and ask them to try it. So yeah, over the last 3 years, that's what I've been doing. And the feedback has been excellent. I have now almost 300 people that have been willing to test.
Wow. So it's a pretty good reception.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So what would it have meant if the ITF had said, yes, we're going to kind of adapt it? What would that have meant?
Right. I've learned such that at that time, you really just applied with an idea and they said yes or no. But since then, in the forward part of their rules, there is now an opportunity to apply, and they will take things on board that they will then trial at some smaller events. So the goal for me is
their own events.
Cool. The goal is to build a case to reapply, to hopefully get them to take it on board, to trial at smaller events, and then there'd be a report based on what the smaller events, how they go. And then the ultimate goal is to see it accepted officially as an alternative shorter scoring format. Because my main thing with this is that I think it's better than Fast 4. It resembles...
Because it still feels like a real match with real scores.
Exactly, yeah. You come off after the 3 set having won 6-1, 2-6, 7-5, for example, rather than winning 4-1, 4-2, and so on. So that's the main thing about it. It still respects the traditions. The other thing that it has that the fast four format doesn't have is that it's much faster paced. When you start at 30 all, you will get some games that will be over in 2 points. So the game score ticks over much more quickly. So you won't sort of see after half an hour's play the score's still 2 all or 3 all sort of stuff. It's a faster pace format. The game score ticks over more quickly. So there's two things there that I think make 30-30 potentially better. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm building the case, asking people to trial it. I realise now that it's actually nothing new. I've had hundreds of people come back saying, oh yeah, we've used this technique in coaching and training for many years. All I've done is I've taken it, I've formalised it as a match format, a competitive format, and tidied it up a wee bit. The one thing I haven't mentioned is that the change of ends. When you're starting games at 30 all and you change ends normally, you change ends very, very quickly. It's too quickly. So we experimented and have eventually come up with that instead of changing after the first game and then after every 2 games, you will actually play 2 games first of all. So both players serve. You will then change, and then following that, you only change after every 4 games. So both.
How does that kind of change the dynamic? Because I did read that. Like, if you're not changing as often, do you have to be fitter? You know, or does it give you less time to kind of regroup? What have people said about that?
I think the beauty of it is there's less downtime. You know, every time you change ends, that's downtime during a set when nothing's happening. So if you reduce the amount of time well, not wasted, but the change of ends is by a factor of 2. And the fact that the games are quicker, when you play 4 games, it doesn't feel like 4 long games. You don't need any more of a rest between 4 games because they're quicker games. So all it does is it really just speeds things up. You're still serving alternatively, but you'll serve twice each before you change ends again. The beauty of that system is that if you're using doubles, after the first 2 games are played, you change ends, all 4 players will actually serve before changing ends again. And that's quite good. It just increases the dynamics. The whole thing moves along a lot more quickly, basically.
I think so, right? And it also probably keeps people's minds focused because if you change over, then, you know, you start to think of like other things. What have people liked about this format, or what have they told you they liked about this format?
It's just you can play more matches in the same length of time. I've had a group of people in India that organised an event. They had 4 groups of 4 players. There was maybe a couple of groups had 5 players, and they played it out over a weekend, a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning. So initially on the Saturday, they played round robin. So everyone got 3 or 4 matches.
Sure, make it worth their while.
Depending on how the round robin went, the top 2 players in each group went through to the quarterfinals, semi-finals and final on the Sunday. So they played far more matches in a far lesser time. So they got the opportunity of playing more opponents. It was more competitive. It didn't take all day. It didn't take all weekend. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's the chance to play more people because the matches are shorter. And yeah, it just seems to work better. I found kids getting feedback from kids. They love the fact that there's so many more juice games. The juice games are the exciting games. You know, you're going juice add, and so on. You'd immediately.
The kids like that kind of rush.
Yeah, they found it just a bit more exciting. So yeah, that's where it is. But please remember, I am only nominating or proposing this as an alternative, and it's to be used. I'm not saying get rid of traditional scoring. That has to stay. That will always be the ultimate test. Just like cricket, it has the 2020 format that runs alongside the 1-day internationals or the 5-day tests. 2020 is to run alongside traditional scoring, and it's to be used as and when required. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's got a lot of things going for it. It's just faster paced. You get more opponents, shorter matches, and yeah, the other great thing is that every single point really counts. You know, you're
Yeah.
not going to
So you
you're not
can't
going
kind of be like, oh, well, I can blow this point.
yeah, you can't sort of drop focus, or you know, if you shut down for a minute or two, you could lose 2 or 3 games very quickly. There are very little meaningless points like 40 love points or love 40 points and so on. You're starting at 30 all, so you're right into the meat, the middle of a game right away. So you have to be on the ball basically, and no time to lose focus at all.
Because it's true. Like a lot of times people, I don't know, you could get bored as well. Like if you're way ahead in a game, you'll be like, oh, well, and you slack off. Or if you're, this way, you're always having to like kind of be on top of things. And here's another question. What do you think would happen if they use this on the Pro Tour? How would that kind of change the dynamic?
Yeah, I have developed this that I think can be used right from the club beginner right through to the pros, because I think it does work for everyone. And I think it would actually be quite exciting to see the top players playing a shorter, faster format as an alternative. The great thing is it wouldn't be nearly as physically demanding. The players are beginning to struggle these days. It's become such a physically hard game to play. The season lasts most of the year and so on. So
Yeah.
it would be nice. Could possibly be nice for them to just have the alternative event where they know a match is only going to take an hour, or you could play best of 5, which would be quite exciting. I have suggested to see the women playing best of 5 using 30-30, because my estimate is that it would take between 60 and 90 minutes to play a best of 5 sets match. And to see the top women playing that would be great, because as I say, it's faster paced. You would technically see 5 sets of tennis played within an hour and a half. And the other thing is that the beauty is that with the matches being shorter, if you were a spectator, whether you're in the stadium or watching it on television, you could potentially see a lot more matches for your money. Instead of turning up to a session at the US Open for 4 or 5 hours and you only see 2 matches, you could,
Yeah, it's great for the
potentially,
fans.
you would see 4 or 5 matches, you would see twice as many players and so on. So I would like to think it could potentially work as an alternative. You
Sure.
would hold 30-30 tournaments in between, just as an alternative, basically. Yeah. So I think it would be great to see. I'd love to see how they handle it. How would they change? Starting games at 30 all, it changes the dynamics. It changes the way you think and so on. And it'd be very interesting to see how people handle it. And I think it opens up the opportunity for players that maybe are not quite as physically fit. At the moment, the Grand Slams, there are only a handful of people that are physically fit to go through in the men's events.
Yeah, you have to play
Play 7
7
best of 5 set
rounds.
matches. It's a shame that there are a lot of very, very talented players there that are just not quite as fit. And they've got very little chance of lasting a fortnight over 5 sets. So you could potentially produce a short format champion. I like to think the likes of the Australian Nick Kyrgios, a short format for a guy who plays exciting tennis like that, where the physical demands
Yeah, he'll
aren't
get like
quite
the rush
bad.
of it, but he's
You could have a superstar that is better at the shorter formats, basically. So yeah.
any other players you feel the format would favor?
Older players.
So
I'm
maybe
thinking of
Serena.
myself. Going on and now play a best of 3 sets match playing traditional scoring. Not at my age. It's not going to happen. But a player in their 40s or 50s who play on the senior tour or whatever could potentially keep competing with the top guys.
So
If
maybe McEnroe versus Nadal would happen under this
why
format.
not? Why not?
Yeah.
If you reduce the physical side of it, potentially it's a bit of a leveler. Absolutely, an older player could play against a younger player and still know that, yeah, it's a shorter format. I'm not going to have to stay on this court for 3, 4, 5 hours. it's going to be over in an hour and a half. If I'm fit enough to do that, I could compete, basically. Yeah. So no,
Yeah, have like
yeah,
one tournament of the year, like a special, maybe not quite a grand slam where that happens
yeah,
on the
yeah,
pro tour.
yeah. Because
So
there are other sort of formats getting tried. I don't know how aware of there is something called the Ultimate Tennis Showdown that Patrick Mouratoglou has created in the last year. He's had 2 or 3 of these events now, and he has realised that yes, to encourage young people to become involved in the sport, there needs to be a shorter format, basically. He's realised that a number of other people are realising it as well. To get youngsters interested, they will not sit for 3, 4, 5 hours and watch a tennis match, but they may sit down for an hour or an hour and a half to watch a match. So he has brought in, Ultimate Tennis Showdown. The format is way out there. It's totally different to any formats we've seen. It's basically a timed format. They play 4 10-minute quarters, and each quarter is basically tie-break scoring. So you can win the first quarter 15-12, you can lose the second quarter 12-11 sort of stuff. And over the 4 quarters, whoever wins the most quarters wins the match. If they have 2 quarters each, they play a very quick sudden death. The first person to win 2 points in a row wins that match. They also have other gimmicks like playing cards. They're like joker cards. You can say they're allowed to play 2 cards per quarter. A card, for example, will be, if I serve and volley here, I will get double the
yeah,
points.
I've heard of those
Yeah,
formats.
it's,
Yeah.
it's way out there, but I like it. It's showing somebody's thinking out of the box. They
I mean,
realise
why not?
we have to try something. But my main problem is that it differs too far from traditional scoring. You see a
Right. So
match now
it's
and it's 15-9, 4-15, and it doesn't sound like 6-3, 6-4 sort of style.
it's
It's
true. So it's hard for people that are traditionalists to really come
yeah,
around to it if it doesn't sound like traditional tennis.
yeah. I like the idea that
Has
you could
Were there
switch
any
from
difficulties with implementing this or any challenges?
just getting people to try it. Yeah, obviously
Sure.
it's slowed down a bit with COVID across the world now.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of lockdown situations, people not playing much tennis, not easy to organise events because of social distancing and so on. So that's been the
Sure.
biggest challenge probably in the last year. I've had a number of people were ready to start doing events and so on, and it's had to be put on hold basically. But no, it's just, I'm looking for people to use it as a competitive format. Let me know how it goes, and I can use that information to build my case. So no, it's an idea that I'm 100% focused on in my spare time. Really, it works. I totally believe it works, basically. And tennis needs something. They keep,
Yeah, to help revitalize itself.
yeah, absolutely. The people who are involved in tennis, I'm told, are getting older year on year. And if that keeps happening, it's not sustainable. You have to attract a new audience. You have to attract new players regularly, or you will eventually die. Okay, I
Or
can't
they'll
see
go to
tennis
pickleball,
dying, but it'll
which we
go
don't want to
downhill.
happen.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the story there.
So what are some of your goals with this? Like in terms of awareness or branding, what are some goals you have for 30/30 tennis?
Yeah, the first goal is to build this case. Okay, get as many people to try it, send me feedback, gathering that it's good feedback. I'll then use that to build my case. I would then reapply to the ITF saying, look, I've been trialing this for 5 years. Here's the feedback I've had. What do you think? With a bit of luck, if the case is good enough, they will say, okay, yeah, fair enough. People are looking at shorter formats. This is an option. It's got the branding 30/30. It says what it does. It could be sold on the back of 2020 cricket and so on. I would like to think they would maybe take it on. They would trial it. Then, depending on the trialing, the ultimate goal is to see it actually accepted as an official alternative scoring format that is both faster and produces shorter matches and is better than fast four, basically. Beyond that, just to see as many people using it and enjoying it. And, I'd love to see companies, television companies say, hey, this is a format that could really work. The matches are far more exciting, they're far more faster paced and so on. And yeah, just to see people playing it, using it and liking it. And hey, who knows, it could help grow the sport of tennis. The more tennis you get on the television that people are watching, the more events you get held
Yeah.
around the local club, the better, because that's the other thing. I have a big problem with the amount of coaching that goes on at clubs. You don't see many kids playing many sets of tennis. But when I was a youngster, I would spend 7 days a week playing sets from dawn till dusk, basically. And that's how you learn. Turning up to 2 hours of coaching during the week, you aren't really learning, and you're not getting the fun side of it. Tennis is a sport. You play 1v1 or 2v2, and you have a winner, you have a loser. It's great fun. I don't see enough of that happening. There's not enough competition. You ask kids now if they play tennis, and they say, yeah, I go around for 2 hours a week with a coach.
It's
And we'll
true,
just do.
because it's disheartening that so many kids, although they may go to tennis once a week, they have so many other things that they're into, that tennis is just the thing they do. But
Yeah,
I think with this format, you could even fit it in like after school. The kids could do a little tournament among each other. Whereas
absolutely.
nowadays, you want to do a tournament, it may involve traveling like a few hours to God knows what place. And you might
Mm.
end up, the parents might end up being there till 2 in the morning. And who really wants to sign up for that? You
Yeah,
know,
no, not
only
every
a certain
parent.
kind of person is like, you know what, sure, sign me up. So
Yeah, no,
I think it
that's
really changes things. Whereas kids after school could have a little mini 30-30 tennis tournament together.
absolutely, yeah, and it would be basically round robin. A match could be a single set, for example. You play a round robin, whoever
Sure.
becomes top of the groups then play maybe a semi. Yeah, it just gives you the opportunity to hold a small competition, a fun competition, but they all get to play more matches in a smaller period of time. I want to see more competition, fun competition or real competition. That's how you learn, and it teaches you so much more, rather than just turning up to coaching and learning how to hit the perfect forehand or hit the best serve. You've got to actually be using what you're learning, and you do that by playing sets of tennis. And this definitely helps that. You can play so many more people.
So, what are some things someone can learn from playing a match, in your opinion?
Good question. Well, first of all, you learn to win and you learn to lose, and that's part of life. There's a lot of theory in this country now that they don't have races anymore at the school. Athletics races, because
Yeah,
they don't have winners and losers anymore. Everyone has to be equal, but you have to
participation.
learn
True.
in life to win and lose, because you go for an
Sure.
interview for a job. There's another 5 people getting interviewed. You haven't got a great chance, so you have to learn to take the knocks, basically. So yeah, learning to lose, learning to win is a big thing. Honesty is another thing. In tennis, you're doing all your own line calls, and yeah, as we know, uh, you can meet various types of people on a court. And I was lucky. I used to play on the old clay blaze courts, and the ball would leave a mark. But if you were playing on surfaces that didn't leave a mark, I remember there was a lot of calls that really you would dispute and so on. So it teaches honesty. You have to be honest, and call balls out or in as you see it.
Right.
So far. Just no, it's just it gives you life skills playing tennis, and playing
Yeah,
tennis.
like strategizing,
Yeah,
handling disappointment,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
rebounding, making a comeback.
yeah, you meet a lot of people if you play for teams and so on. You meet a lot of people. I played quite a lot of squash when I was younger, and I still see guys daily that we thrashed each other on the squash court. And yeah, you have friends for life basically through the sport as well. So there's a number of things. It keeps you fit, it keeps you active, it keeps your mind active. You've got to keep the
Yeah,
score and all these
definitely.
sort of things.
Because our minds,
Tennis is a game for life. You should be starting playing at 9, 10 years old, and you could still be playing it well into your 70s, 80s if you can really. So Yeah, it's a
Yeah, my
great sport to
grandfather played
learn.
till 85. So
Mhm.
excellent. So before we wrap this up, if people want to contact you and they want to maybe use this for, their club, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, there's a website that carries most of the information, or you can get in touch with me directly. So the best thing I would say is that in the show notes, if you were just to make a note of the website, it's
Sure.
3030tennis.com. And the
Beautiful.
3030, yeah, 3030 is written like 2020. The first 30 is in letters, and then the second 30 is in digits. It's 30. So
Perfect.
it's 3030. Yeah, on the website there's my email address. There's information there about what's going on in terms of testimonials. I do a regular blog just to update on how it's been used, what's happening,
Nice.
and so on. So all the latest news is on the website. So yeah, no, it would be fantastic if you can get some people
Yeah.
to try
And
it.
my
And
kids will try it. The kids I teach will try it this spring. They're going to
yeah,
try
yeah,
it, I think.
yeah, absolutely. No,
And do
the
you get
feedback is
any like licensing fees or anything like that for this, or it's just in trial
no,
mode?
absolutely not. No, I just want to see the
Wow.
idea, see the idea out there working and so on. If it does take off, well, let's just see what happens if it does take off.
Yeah.
I, I just want tennis to gain from something like this. I'd love to see regular 30-30 tournaments, competitions where kids, adults as well. This recent group in India found it fantastic. It has revitalised them. They feel the competitive spirit now. They want to. They can't wait till the next event because they're competing, and you see your improvement more by competing. You might lose to someone, but after another few weeks, you might beat them, sort of stuff. So you feel your improvement. So yeah, no, more competition, more playing sets and so on. But not for trophies, not for money, not for anything, just for the benefit of playing competitive tennis,
Yeah, that
basically.
we get to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Excellent. No, thank you as well, Esther. No, I appreciate you giving me the shout. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
We'll get it out to the world.
You're a champion. Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening.
Okay, good night.